guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and I'm the mompreneur here behind A Crafty Concept. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the Charlie hat. This beanie is made by working the lemon peel stitch and single crochet stitches in the camel hump. It's super easy, really simple to adjust if you need a different size or if you want to use chunky yarn or something like that. Also, just quick little announcement or warning. You're going to want to have relaxed tension the whole time you make this hat. If you make it too tight, it will not fit. It is designed to fit comfortably after it's been stretched out a little bit, because I don't want my beanies to look like they're made nicely and then you wear it a couple times and then it's a saggy, sloppy mess. So these are made to fit after you like run your fingers around the brim a little bit and make sure all the stitches fall into place and give it a little bit of a tugging, and then it will fit on your head. So if your tension is too tight, it will not fit once you go to stretch it. If you have very tight tension and you know that already about yourself, maybe try adding 2 stitches to whatever size that you're doing. So this is the adult size. It is 50 stitches. You would make yours 52 stitches instead. Super simple. Everything else would be the same. You're just going to add a little bit to the circumference of your hat. Really easy. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Oh yes, one last thing. I forgot to mention at the very beginning of this pattern, when you make your chain, at the very beginning, the very first thing you do is you make your chain. You're going to want to leave a long tail, maybe like 12 to 14 inches. So you're going to use that later for assembling the beanie at the end. So I forgot to say it, but I'm telling you here, when you make your starting chain, leave a long tail, 12 to 14 inches at the end of the beanie. Okay, let's hop right into it and see what you need to make yourself a Charlie hat. Here is everything you're going to need to make a Charlie hat beanie. Some worsted weight yarn. This is Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek worsted weight yarn from Hobby Lobby, which I love. A pair of scissors. This one is from Warm Crochet. Aren't they just beautiful? These were gifted to me, so thank you, Warm Crochet, for these lovely scissors. A tapestry needle and a J 6.0 millimeter crochet hook. This one is Clover or More brand, which is my favorite hook brand to work with. Gauge for this beanie is 13 stitches by 13 rows. Should give you a 4x4 inch square, all in single crochet stitches. This is very important for this pattern. I don't know if it's just the way the lemon peel stitch works up or what, but if your tension is too tight, then your beanie will be too small. So go ahead and whip up a quick gauge swatch just so you can check your tension before you get started. We're going to start by making a slip knot. Then we're going to insert our hook and chain 50. Again, this is the adult size. After we chain 50, we're going to run our fingers down our chain just like this to make sure it's not twisted at all. And then we are going to join our hook into the first stitch, chain stitch space that we made, and chain 1. Now we are going to start row 1. And to do row 1 and all the rows for the body of this beanie, we're going to single crochet in the first stitch. So right here where you just joined, we're going to single crochet. And then we are going to double crochet in the second stitch. And that will be our repeat for the entire body of this beanie. Single crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch. We're going to do that all the way around, and then I will show you what we do before we start row 2. You may notice that when I make my stitches, I yarn under to pull up my yarn, and then I yarn over. I don't know why I do it this way, that's just the way I taught myself to crochet. If you yarn over, which is the more traditional way of crocheting, it's not going to affect the outcome of your beanie. It's just going to make your stitches look a tiny smidgy bit different, and you won't even be able to tell unless you know what you're looking for. So I'm going to finish row 1 with my 50 stitches, and then I will come back before we start row 2. Okay, my last stitch in row 1, which is a double crochet. Then I'm going to make sure my row is not twisted in any way. Join into the top of the first stitch and chain 1. Now this next step is very important. After you chain up 1, we're going to turn our work, and then we're just going to repeat the same thing we did for row 1. We're going to put a single crochet in the first stitch, and if you can see, the single crochet stitch goes on top of the double crochet stitch, and then we're going to double in the next stitch, which was a single crochet stitch in row 1. So the alternating stitches also helps create the texture in this beanie. We're going to continue to repeat that all the way around for 50 stitches in the row, and we're going to do this for every row of the body, which is 23 rows total. The main thing is that you continue to chain 1 and turn after you join each row, and that will help your stitches line up properly so your beanie is textured properly. I do want to go ahead and tell you guys really quick that if you do need to adjust this pattern, it's super simple. All you want to do is make sure your starting chain is an even number. That way you can start each row on a single crochet, end each row on a double crochet. But you will need an even number of chains in your starting chain in order to get this texture right. The starting chain will determine the circumference of your beanie, so the part that goes around your ears and your forehead, the circumference, and the number of rows that you do will be the beanie height. If you want a slouchy beanie, you can do more rows. If you want a more fitted beanie, you can do less rows. For this one, it will be a little bit slouchy, but not like super slouchy, and we will be doing 23 rows in our body. Almost done with row 2 right here. Now we are going to join into the top of our first stitch, chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work. Cannot emphasize that enough. And then just continue on with our repeat, starting with a single crochet stitch and then a double crochet stitch all the way around for 23 rows. And after I get done with row 23, I will come back on camera and we will start our brim. Okay, I just finished row 23, which is my 23 rows of the lemon peel stitch. Now I'm going to chain 1, but this time and for the rest of this beanie, we will not turn our work after each row. We're going to start row 1 of the brim and row 24 of the whole beanie, and we are just going to put 1 single crochet stitch into every space all the way around for a total of 50 single crochets in the row. You want to be careful here not to make your tension too tight, because if it is, the next 2 rows after this will be really hard to work. if the tension is too tight, and you'll see what I mean here in a moment when we get to row 25. But I'm just going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the spaces from row 23. Okay, coming up on the end of the row, going to join into the top of my first single crochet, chain one, and again I'm not going to turn my work. For row 25 we're going to do the same thing as row 24 with one single crochet stitch in each stitch around, but this time instead of putting our stitches right here under the two loops where we would normally put our stitches, we're going to kind of flip our brim forward so we can see the backs of our stitches, or the wrong side, and we're going to insert our hook into this horizontal bar right here. This is the camel hump, and that's where we're going to be inserting our hook and placing our stitch for the camel crochet stitch, just like that. And if your tension was too tight, it will be very difficult to get your hook into those spaces. So if it's harder than it should be, you may just need to frog it and do row 24 again, and this time loosen up your tension a little bit. And again, you want to keep your tension pretty relaxed for this row too, because we're going to do one more row of camel stitch single crochets after this one. One more stitch in row 25. Join into the top of your first stitch, which was a single crochet, and chain one, and last time to not turn our work. For row 26, which is our very last row in the Charlie hat, we are just going to repeat row 25 by putting one single crochet stitch in each camel hump all the way around for a total of 50 stitches in the row. Then we will join into the top of our first stitch and tie off. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this last row off camera, and when I come back we will finish off our Charlie hats. Finishing up row 26. Join into the top of our first single crochet, and now we can tie off. So I'm just going to pull out a little bit, cut my yarn with my fun new scissors from Warm Crochet, like butter, and tie off. This is what we have so far. Let's take some measurements for my measurement loving friends. Okay, so from the very top to the very bottom of our brim, we are looking at 9 inches tall, and we are looking at about 8.5 inches wide. Again, this is the adult size. I will put the measurements for the child and toddler size up here on the screen for you guys, and it will also be in the blog post and PDF that goes with this pattern. Now we're going to close off the top of our beanie, and I neglected to leave my first tail long. That was an accident. That was an oversight. I'm going to try to do it with this length of tail, and we'll see what happens. Ideally, I would have left this about 12 inches, and I completely forgot since this is my second time videoing this entire tutorial. Thread your first tail onto your tapestry needle, and now we are just going to weave our needle in and out of the stitches all the way around, kind of bunching them up and making them kind of cluster together. Just in and out. And pull your tail as you go, squishing them all together and closing up the hole at the top of this beanie. Made it a little unnecessarily hard on myself by not leaving a long tail at the beginning. Okay, almost back to the beginning. Now I'm just going to pull my tail super tight and clench that up really good, and then I'm going to run my needle under all those same little spots. Run my needle under all of those same little spots and keep pulling it tight, or taut I should say, to keep it closed. Normally I would go around 2 or 3 times, but since I just have this tiny tail, I'm only going to go around 1 extra time. Should be secure. Okay, pull it taut, and then I'm going to stick my tail down into the inside of the beanie and sew it in over here. So pull it to the inside, and then I'm just going to sew it in. So we made it work with the tiny tail, but it's much easier if you have a longer starting tail. I like to make sure I go over myself a couple times when I sew in my tail so the fibers can get all knotted up underneath the yarn in between all the stitches. And then cut it off. Now we can sew in our first tail down here. And this guy is almost complete. Now we can flip our beanie right side out, and ta-da! How pretty is the Charlie hat? Look at all of that lovely texture. Beautiful stitches. If you make your tension too tight, it won't look this pretty. It will be very, like, if you can imagine what crochet would look like if it made that sound, that sound. Okay, now you can add a custom tag to the bottom of this. I get my wooden tags from All This Wood on Etsy, or a lovely faux fur palm on top. Maria's Blue Crown makes some beautiful palms, and so does Threadhead Knits. I have used both of their palms before, and they are absolutely stunning. I do have a video on my YouTube channel showing how I attach faux fur palms to the tops of my beanies so they are not wobbly. I will link that for you guys in the description below, so you are welcome to check that out as well. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys love this tutorial. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to answer them for you and help in any way that I can. The best way to get a hold of me is through direct message on Instagram. I am always over there hanging out. Instagram is where I spend most of my time. So if you want to connect, definitely want to jump over to Instagram and say hello. Also, if you would like to join the Ashante Crochet Facebook group, we would love to have you over there in that community. It is a positive, encouraging environment of other crocheters and a few knitters who make crocheted things to sell them as a business, and we are helping each other answer business-related questions and find each other's target audiences and things like that. So it's a really fun environment over there. If you would like to check that out, I will put a link in the description below for that as well. One last thing before I stop blabbering. I have a free PDF download for a pack of wrap labels that you can print off, cut out, and hug around your finished pieces to give them a professional or make them look better to be gifted. That is something that I do every Wednesday for my newsletter people, and you can sign up for that and receive your first free pack right now. So I will stop talking so you can go do that and have a fantastic rest of your day.